Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's session. Today, we are going to be talking about an extremely important issue, a burning topic, a hotbed for contestation, that is Uniform Civil Code, yeah, UCC. So, in this video, we'll firstly try to understand what exactly is Uniform Civil Code. Second, we'll take a brief look at the history of UCC. Third, we'll look at UCC through the lens of the Constitution Assembly debate and certain landmark cases. Fourth, we'll discuss the controversies surrounding UCC. Last but not the least, we'll discuss what can be the way forward. So before we try to understand what is Uniform Civil Code, let us try to understand this. India is a largely diverse and a religiously pluralistic country. इसका मतलब ये है कि इंडिया में बहुत सारे ऐसे कम्युनिटीज हैं जैसे हिंदूज, मुस्लिम्स, क्रिश्चियन, सिख, पारसी एटसेट्रा. साथ ही साथ more than 1,000 tribal communities. Now each of these communities also have sub-communities, sects, subsects. Each of these communities also have their own personal religious matters such as marriage, divorce, inheritance, adoption, etc. ये सब personal religious matters को उनके अपने personal laws govern करते हैं. Say for example, in Muslims there are two sects, Shias and Sunnis. अभी उनमें भी बहुत सारे differences हैं. Say for example, in Sunni marriages, there is a requirement of 2 male or 1 male and 2 female witnesses in order for that marriage to be valid. ऐसे कोई requirement नहीं है for Shia marriages. या तो फिर in Hindu marriages, there are rituals such as Kanyadan या Saptapadi that is a requirement in certain Hindu marriages, while in other communities, in Hindu communities, it is not a requirement. तो फिर ये UCC है क्या? उसके लिए देखते हैं आर्टिकल 44 of the Indian Constitution 1949. It says, quote unquote, the state shall endeavor to secure for the citizens a uniform civil code throughout the territory of India. देखा जाए तो आर्टिकल 44 does not define what uniform civil code is. Neither does it states what are the components or what might constitute as uniform civil code. ये बस सिंपली ये कहता है कि स्टेट के ऊपर एक ड्यूटी है to bring a uniform civil code and implement it throughout the territory of India. So the easiest definition of UCC can be one nation, one law. That is to say, जैसे हम लोग के पास इंडियन पिनल कोड है, कोड ऑफ क्रिमिनल प्रोसीजर है, कोड ऑफ क्रिमिनल प्रोसीजर है या तो फिर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है, ये लॉज गवर्न करते हैं सबको इक्वली एंड यूनिफॉर्मली. जो मेरे लिए अप्लाई होता है वो आपके लिए भी अप्लाई होता है. सिमिलरली यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड लाया जाएगा which will bring laws that will be uniformly applied between communities as well as within communities. That is to say, if there is any law that regulates Hindu marriages, the same law will regulate Christian, Sikh, Parsi, Jain, etc. all other religious community के marriages. या तो फिर whatever adoption process and procedure applies for Muslim communities, the same procedure will be applied for other communities as well. There will no longer be different laws for different communities. Now, let's take a brief look at the history of Uniform Civil Code. The idea or the origin of Uniform Civil Code is not new. It dates back to the time of colonial rule, यानी when Britishers were still ruling India. उन्होंने 1835 में एक रिपोर्ट सबमिट किया which stressed the need for uniformity of laws as well as their codification in matters of crime, contracts, evidences, etc. लेकिन Hindu and Muslim personal laws were to be kept outside its purview. Towards the end of the British rule, there was an increase in legislations and disputes regarding personal laws and personal issues. This had forced the government to set up the B.N. Rao Committee in 1941. This committee was set up to look into the necessity for codification of Hindu law. Ultimately, जब इस कमेटी का रिपोर्ट सबमिट किया गया था, India had gotten its independence and the Constitution Assembly was already set up. This report was submitted before the Constitution Assembly and a discussion also came up regarding UCC. लेकिन जब तक discussions continue हुए, this Hindu Code Bill lapsed. It was resubmitted in 1952 और ultimately in 1956 इसे adopt किया गया as Hindu Succession Act. This act amended and codified the laws relating to interstate, that is unwilled succession among Hindus, Buddhists, Jains and Sikhs. ये हिंदू पर्सनल लॉ को रिफॉर्म कर दिया और and gave women greater property rights and ownership and equal rights in the father's estate. So now that the Hindu Succession Act was brought and the Hindu personal laws were codified and reformed, the next topic or the question before the Constitution Assembly debate was whether a uniform civil code should also be brought so that other religions can be reformed and their personal laws can be codified in line of the Hindu Succession Act. So with regard to this, various lawmakers had varied opinions as to what should be done with UCC, whether it should be implemented or not. For example, K.M. Munshi Sahab believed that UCC was important for the unity of the nation and upholding the secular credential of the country. Aladi Krishnaswamy Iyer backed K.M. Munshi Sahab on this. He said that the idea of uniform civil code was not to destroy amity or bring disharmony among the communities. Rather, it aimed at bringing amity among such communities. When several lawmakers such as Qazi Karimuddin, Hasrat Mohani, Nasiruddin Ahmed said that they were against the implementation of UCC because they believed it would disturb the Muslim personal laws. It would interfere with such personal laws and no such interference would be tolerated. They said that the assembly should not proceed in haste but with caution, with experience, statesmanship and with sympathy. Rebutting this, Aladi Krishnaswamy Iyer said, it's not as if one legal system is trying to influence other. Rather, UCC would do away with all the discriminations arising due to such dissimilarities in such legal systems. Several lawmakers had varied opinions about the implementation of UCC. For example, Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad expressed his concerns about the potential erosion of religious autonomy and minority rights with the implementation of UCC. Begum Aizaz Rasool expressed her concerns about the impact of UCC on Muslim personal laws and argued that UCC should accommodate the religious beliefs and traditions of all communities to ensure harmony and social cohesion. Mr. Frank Anthony expressed his reservations about imposing UCC. He emphasized the need to respect the cultural diversity and pluralism of India. However, the father of Indian Constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, was in favor of implementing the Uniform Civil Code. He clarified that the state would not take any action or execute any laws which might be found objectionable by any of the communities in India. But he firmly believed that these diverse personal laws was what was holding back India. He reminded the assembly that the Uniform Civil Code was only a moral obligation of the state. It was optional and future legislatures could legislate on Uniform Civil Code with the consent of communities. He supported UCC because he felt it would promote gender equality and eliminate discriminations based on personal laws. He, along with the then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, advocated the need for comprehensive civil code which would ensure equal rights for women in matters of marriage, divorce and inheritance. Now, let's take a look at certain judicial pronouncements that have shaped the history of India and have underlined the need for a uniform civil code. First is the landmark judgment of Muhammad Ahmad Khan versus Shah Bano Begum. In this historic case, Shah Bano Begum was a Muslim woman who was divorced by her husband after 40 years of marriage. She was also denied maintenance under Section 125 of Indian Penal Code. The Supreme Court had not only provided for her maintenance under such section, but had also stated that it is a matter of regret that the Article 44 of the Constitution had remained a dead letter. It's one of those first case laws where the Supreme Court had reiterated the need for uniform civil code. Then, in the case of Sarla Mudgal versus Union of India, the woman, that is the petitioner, stated that her husband had converted to Islam in order to solemnize a second marriage with another woman. In this case, the Supreme Court had famously stated that converting to another religion in order to validate the second marriage does not dissolve the first one. He would still be liable under Section 494 of IPC, which states that a man will be punished and held liable for marrying another woman without divorcing the first woman. Then, in the case of Mary Roy versus State of Kerala, Supreme Court upheld equal property rights for women belonging from Kerala's Syrian Catholic families. Next is the more recent case of Miss Shaira Bano, that is popularly known as Triple Talaq case. In this case, Mrs. Bano was divorced by her husband after he had uttered the word talaq thrice. This discriminatory practice of triple talaq still exists among Muslim community and severely injures and prejudices the rights of Muslim women. तो एक चीज बताइए, अगर पर्सनल लॉज में इतनी सारी दिक्कतें हैं, as is evident from all the case laws that we have seen, अगर सही में social injustices are committed against women and they are being heavily discriminated against by the personal laws, तो फिर यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड तो इम्प्लीमेंट करनी चाहिए ना? वेल, दिस इज द आर्ग्यूमेंट ऑफ ऑल द यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड प्रोपोनेंट्स. जो उनके फेवर में हैं, वो ये कहते हैं दैट यूसीसी एलिमिनेट करेगा डिस्क्रिमिनेटरी प्रैक्टिसेस को दैट डिप्राइव वुमेन एंड प्रोवाइड करेगा इक्वल अपॉर्चुनिटीज एंड प्रोटेक्शन उन्हें. It will also streamline and simplify all the existing laws giving equal status to all citizens as well as promote karega gender parity ko, which will break the shackles of patriarchy. It will also be important in ensuring national integration as people will no longer be divided on personal laws, nor will there be any special privileges or concessions given to any particular community. वो ये भी कहते हैं that there are several practical and logistical difficulties जो arise करते हैं due to such diverse laws. वो कोर्ट को burden करते हैं with paperwork, which often creates confusion in interpretation of laws. Last but not the least, LGBTQIA+ community also stands to benefit from the implementation of UCC. अभी फिलहाल, Goa is the only state in entire India which has implemented Uniform Civil Code thanks to the Portuguese influence. As I've already stated, several lawmakers such as B.R. Ambedkar, Jawaharlal Nehru, etc. were strictly in favor of implementing Uniform Civil Code. They firmly believed जो भी social injustices है, जो भी discriminatory practices है committed against women, ये सब UCC will stop. लेकिन अगर UCC के इतने सारे ही benefits हैं, then why are various sections of the society protesting against the introduction or implementation of Uniform Civil Code? Why have there been protests amongst Muslim communities, northeastern states which are Christian majority, and even among some tribal communities such as the Orayans who follow the Sarna religion? चलिए देखते हैं. कहा जा रहा है that various communities are afraid that Uniform Civil Code will be brought out, which will bring a uniform law and will be applied uniformly to all other religions. जिसके कारण उनके जितने भी रिलीजियस एंड कल्चरल आइडेंटिटी एंड डिस्टिंक्टिवनेस है, वो सब आइडेंटिटी एंड डिस्टिंक्टिवनेस एलिमिनेट कर देगा. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर कोई लॉ लाया जाता है दैट अप्लाइज टू हिंदू मैरिजेस, फॉर एग्जाम्पल विद रिगार्ड्स टू एनी ऑफ द रिचुअल, अगर वही लॉ बाकी सारे कम्युनिटीज सच एज मुस्लिम्स, क्रिश्चियन, सिख, पारसी एट्सेट्रा इन पे भी अप्लाई हो, देन दे आर अफ्रेड कि जो उनके यूनिकनेस है of their culture, of their religion, वो चला जाएगा. They are afraid जो current dispensation है, जो heavily tilt करता है towards right-wing Hinduism, वो लाएगा एक ऐसा uniform civil code which will be strictly on the basis of Hindu code bill. They are afraid that the government might bring such a law which will be heavily influenced by Hinduism, and accordingly when implemented on all other religions, it will blur the line between Hinduism and other religion to such great extent. साथ ही साथ वो ये भी कहते हैं that personal laws can never be uniform क्योंकि उनके अंदर बहुत कुछ morality की बातें हैं which are very subjective in nature. What is right and good in a particular religion need not be right and good in another religion. यानी उनमें ये डर है कि whatever is considered right and moral under Hindu laws, उसी के बेसिस पे एक यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड को लाया जाएगा और उसे इम्प्लीमेंट किया जाएगा बाकी सारे कम्युनिटीज के ऊपर. However, the Supreme Court keeps on holding the government accountable for the delay in framing a uniform civil code. क्योंकि Supreme Court को भी पता है, and it understands the need for such uniform personal laws, not only because of the pressure in judiciary, but also the need for such uniform civil code to uphold the secular credentials of India. But most importantly, a uniform civil code is required to uphold the dignity of women who are greatly aggrieved due to the biases of personal laws. Those who are against the implementation of uniform civil code often cite Article 25 of the Constitution of India and Article 29 of the Constitution of India 1949. Article 25 states freedom of conscience and free profession, practice, propagation of religion. Whereas Article 29 talks about protection of interest of minority. Article 25 ये कहता है that citizens have the right to freely profess, practice and propagate their own religion of choice. Whereas in 29, minorities have the right to conserve their distinct language, script or culture of their own. Yani, whoever wants to profess or practice a religion of their own or uphold a culture of their own in whatever manner, they have the right to do so. However, Article 25 subclause 1 में एक important caveat दिया गया है. It says, subject to public order, morality and health and to other provisions of this part. यानी इसे interpret किया जाए तो इसका मतलब यही होता है that Article 25 is subject to other fundamental rights. That is, it is inferior to other fundamental rights present. Other fundamental rights such as Article 14, 19 and 21 are superior to Article 25. अगर कोई भी व्यक्ति Article 25 को exercise करते हैं, they can do so, but without violating the other fundamental rights. Say for example, if somebody says that it is a right under my religion to practice polygamy, however, they cannot do so because it infringes Article 14 and Article 21. This was the same argument given by the Supreme Court in the Sabarimala judgment. They had allowed women to enter the Sabarimala temple and practice and profess the religion of their choice and do so in the manner they wish to do so. The Supreme Court had stated that Article 25 cannot be used as an excuse or a justification for not allowing women to enter the temple or practice the religion of their choice, because then it would have violated Article 14 and Article 21 of the Constitution. In 2018, the 21st Law Commission of India had stated with regards to Uniform Civil Code that it was, quote unquote, neither necessary nor relevant at that stage. However, in 2023, the 22nd Law Commission, in its 279th report, had upheld the need for Uniform Civil Code. It had recently sought view from public and other religious bodies with regards to Uniform Civil Code. So last but not the least, what exactly is the way forward? Should we introduce Uniform Civil Code or should we just let the personal laws be just the way they are? I believe the time has come where we need to understand that personal laws need to be revised. They need to be placed under stringent scrutiny. All those laws which are found to be discriminatory towards women in matters of marriage, divorce, inheritance, etc. need to be done away with. We need to bring equitable laws that prioritizes gender justice. Equality of gender must be upheld to the utmost, and this can only be done when we have such just laws. But we can't do this if we have Hindu laws being applied uniformly on all other religions. That way, it would erode the religious distinctiveness, the cultural pluralism that India has always been known for and is proud of. At this point, what we can do is wait for the government to bring a draft Uniform Civil Code that will shed light on what the government intends to do and how it wishes to proceed with the Uniform Civil Code. Accordingly, we can hold public consultation and stakeholder discussions and make all the necessary changes and amendments so that the Uniform Civil Code can be justly implemented. What is also as important is educating people on the need for UCC. There will be a certain section of society who will resist change, who will still believe in the backward and archaic nature of their personal laws, who will stand by the discriminatory nature of such personal laws. Such section of society must be educated on the need for UCC. They must be told about how UCC is important for transforming the way society thinks. I believe we can all agree with Dr. B.R. Ambedkar when he said that the progressiveness of a society can be measured by what the women in society have achieved. Well, this brings us to the end of this video. If you liked this video, please like, share and subscribe Exact Eyes and follow us on all social media handles. Thank you and see you next time in our next video.